Hi, I'm Steve Sjuggerud, and I'm here with two of my heroes, really. This is Mike Dawes, who won the Best Acoustic Guitar Player of the last 2 years, according to, actually, I don't even know.
My mum.
Your mum, yes. That was Total Guitar, what was it?
Something internet related, which means it must be true.
Absolutely, right, yeah. And then this is my good friend Rick Toone, who I think is truly one of the planet's most creative and innovative guitar builders, really pushing the limits on what's possible in the electric guitar. And I don't know how he does it, but Rick is a great friend, and these two just met for the first time yesterday. So I thought it would be great to take advantage of this moment. They sort of come from different musical worlds, but they're both pushing the limits of the guitar, and so I thought it would be great to kind of get them together and talk a little bit about pushing the limits. And but really, I want to get inside your heads a bit, and basically, instead of just saying like, "Oh, this is how you play this chord" or whatnot, like, how did the idea of pushing the limits? Have you always been this way, and where did it sort of come from?
Well, yeah, I mean, in any kind of change to the norm, I suppose, starts with the genesis of an idea, and in my case it was a sort of happy accident. Well, it wasn't so happy at the time. My mum, bless her, dropped my Epiphone Les Paul, which I had at the time, aged sort of 16 or 17 or something. Unfortunately dropped it on the floor, and the headstock came off, as Les Pauls kind of, they've quite a sensitive headstock area sometimes. And as it was being repaired, I couldn't sort of play guitar, and as a teenager wanting to play guitar, that wasn't really cool. So what happened is we had to actually get the headstock glued back on, and it lay down sort of horizontally on a dining room table. In fact, to replicate this, could I just borrow your leg? And I think, okay, Rick's hand is, this is very easy. It's a hands-free situation. Thanks, guys. So as the Les Paul was laying down, I began to sort of see the guitar in a different way. I began to see it as sort of 6 sort of pianos, essentially, chromatically, rather than being sort of constricted to box shapes and patterns that I was already used to as a teenager playing Iron Maiden covers and things like that. So what I did, inspired by people like Pierre Ben, thank you so much, guys, sorry.
Yeah.
Inspired by people like Pierre Ben Susan, who's he's a French guitar player, one of my fingerstyle guitar heroes, and there's some family connection to him, a loose family connection as well. I put the guitar in Dadgad tuning, which is, for those of you that might not know that, it's D-A-D-G-A-D, Dad-Gad, okay? Not to be confused with Baghdad or Dad Bag or Bag.
Why choose Dadgad? Like, why not an open tuning, like a major key?
So Dadgad is an open tuning in the sense that it is an open chord. Right. It's a D sus4 chord.
But it's a sus, not a...
It's a sus, yeah. And the reason I chose this was because it's undefined. It doesn't have a major or minor third. So
asexual,
it was an asexual tuning, exactly. And thank you so much, Steve, just holding the guitar. But anyway, the point being that it was sort of a blank canvas, but a blank canvas that allowed me to play with power chords, with maybe even just one finger. And I started to figure out you could arpeggiate major and minor chords and start to play around, sort of Celine Dion vibes, and just goofing around with interesting ideas from the top down. And what that kind of did was it let me sort of see the guitar as limited to my arm span and not to my hand span. And then thank you guys, sorry. And then when I brought it upright and saved enough money to get my first acoustic guitar, an old Taylor, I sort of took that, the way I had viewed the guitar all my life had changed. And all the techniques, all the percussion, all that stuff, inspired by Eric Roche, who was a late great UK guitar player, sort of the UK's answer to Michael Hedges, I suppose. I got a lot of the percussion stuff from watching his live at the Electric Theatre DVD, which is, some of it's on YouTube, you should check it out, Eric Roche, R-O-C-H-E. The combination of that and just the fact I was viewing the guitar differently, that was the genesis of the idea, and I think that's something that's often overlooked when people talk about technique, So.
Yeah, and you did a lot of techniques last night that were sort of far beyond what I'd seen from sort of the Michael Hedges universe, and for me, I opened up for you last night.
It was awesome. It was right here actually in this barn, which is a beautiful, beautiful place to play down by the Georgia border in Pointe.
Thanks.
Jacksonville area.
And thanks, Mike. And so I played a song that Peter Gabriel's "In Your Eyes," and I wanted to get the kind of the bell sound, and it's a repetitive bell sound, and so I'd never used this technique before, but I was kind of in search of a technique to create a particular sound that's in a song, and I feel like you've instead of saying, "Boy, I'm going to get really good at the Lenny Breau or Eric Johnson harmonics," instead of saying that's going to be my goal, I'm asking with this. Do you say, okay, here's the song, how do I accomplish that noise? And then you end up coming with which comes first, sort of the technique or the goal to accomplish that?
So actually this is actually a really good demonstration of the value of arranging songs. So covering a tune, but with the goal of trying to push the boundaries of what you can do on one instrument and trying to achieve specific sounds. So a lot of my early work, it's still early work, I've only really just started in the grand scheme of things. A lot of it was trying to copy pop songs. So I would do a song like Somebody That I Used to Know by Gautier, that kind of, at a very fundamental level, I had to mimic that sound, which is fortunately a guitar. So just by palm muting, I was mimicking that. But as the song goes on, there are all these other sounds. There's little rakes, little xylophone things, little twinkly noises. So I was getting just thinking outside the box to try and achieve these noises. That's what you're referring to, this kind of slap harmonic, bell harmonics it's called. And there are other people doing this stuff, I'm by no means the first person to do this. You mentioned Michael Hedges and many other players as well. But yeah, I would sort of enhance my technical arsenal by trying to create the sounds that already existed in the music I was attempting to arrange.
But have you come up with new techniques, do you think, just in order to achieve something that you heard on a record?
Yes. So that's it's the way I think of it is it's sort of a musical and fun way to learn new techniques. Because you could think of techniques. So another example, for example, is I was at university. Sorry to waffle on. Waffle is an American word for pancakes. I was listening to Superstition by Stevie Wonder, and I was hearing the groove, the and I tried to replicate that on the strings of the guitar, like that, getting a percussive sound out of the melodic part of the guitar, in the same way that he's getting a percussive sound out of the melodic instrument he's playing. And gradually, this became a habit. This took a bit of practice to get consistent.
I don't know if people can see it, but you're actually using your first finger across.
So I'm sort of creating these little subdivisions in 4 beats. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and with the first beat being a slap and then E and up. So that's with the slap I'm touching the top string. Then it's drag off on the G string. But then I would alternate between kick drum and snare. So maybe a bit of swing. Then you can start freestyling with your other digits, perhaps picking a bass note. Things like this, perhaps letting the other notes ring. Then you're starting to get the melody. And you can start to let the song take place. So that was a sort of, in that instance, that was just fooling around, creating a technique and then building a song from it.
Cool.
But it's a musical way of doing it. No one wants to sit in their room going all day, but to try and create a Stevie Wonder cover using this stuff is really, really cool. So that's the thing. I think if you're a player and you're trying to enhance your technical library, always try and find a musical way to do it. Otherwise, I get distracted easily, and I'll probably fall out of love with the instrument if I was just sitting there going,
Yeah. Well, let's bring Rick in a bit too. We got your background, the broken Epiphone that laid you up and got you on your journey. Was there a guitar that was broken early on for you that got you on your journey?
It was like a Les Paul clone when I was in high school, and the thing just tortured me ergonomically and mechanically, and I thought, I think I need to do something different, hopefully better, and so that's where it began. Then I fell in love with the Steinberger. I went to the music store, this music store, and they had one of the first earliest Steinbergers there, and I saw that and I thought, damn, that's completely different and really beautiful.
And what was your first guitar? What did you build? What inspired you to? Did you go with a Les Paul shape, but different, or a Strat type shape, or You
Well,
know?
I loved Alex Lifeson's playing, so I built a copy of an ES335, but solid body, but it was that shape because I love that early mid-rush stuff. So, yeah.
But in the first guitars that I met you, it was probably 8 years ago now. And the first guitars that I played with you, the 335 has the bridge pretty far forward, kind of like an SG, where you feel like it's way out there. There's a lot of wood behind the bridge. And the first guitars of yours that I played, the bridge was much further back. So did a change happen in your head where like, well, this just makes more sense somehow? Or
20 years.
20 years,
Yeah.
okay.
So I should clarify and say that those first early experiments were done in high school. That's when I first started building. And then I took a long time off. Had another whole career in teaching and whatnot. And got back to Lutherie about 9 years ago, I'll say. So you are seeing the results of a gestation period that had nothing to do with guitar building. Had a lot to do with running, actually, because I love to run, and I'm really interested in barefoot running and how the foot works and how ergonomics work. And that's translated very well to the instrument. How does your hand work? How does your body work? What's your posture when you're doing all these activities?
I know it was very important for you when you were starting out. You wanted to help people that had back issues and hand issues and such, you know, early on, and so you really focused on the ergonomic aspects of the guitar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything begins with the mechanics, and then we can once we have ergonomics and mechanics, then we can extend from there into electronics and style and visual and all that. But if it's not mechanically comfortable for you to play, then you're not going to get a good performance.
So can you tell us some of the things that, like, this is a familiar shape in a way, it's a double cutaway shape, but you've got some unique things going on here. So can you tell us a little about some of those?
Well, first I'd like to say thank you, because this is a collaboration between Steve and myself, and
Thank you, Rick.
yeah, and so
You and I have been arguing about, pleasantly arguing, you know, pushing the limits. Thank you for allowing me to give constructive criticism and try and make things better every day. You know.
yeah, we're well beyond constructive criticism. We're on to this is a true collaboration, and
It's a mighty guitar.
mighty guitar.
Mighty, absolutely mighty.
And so Mike got to play this guitar. You really plugged it in, what, 2 hours ago or less than that?
Yeah, well, I was fooling around with it last night. I mean, I'm not an electric player by any means, but it's something. Well, I was before my mum broke my guitar. Yeah, this is a very inspiring instrument. The neck's very interesting as well. Very ergonomic neck, which looks very striking. Is this roasted
Yes,
maple?
yes. We cooked it in the oven for a while.
Yeah, and but it's got a very interesting shape. Kind of fits around the hand nicely. It's sort of angular thing going on, but it feels very natural, and you really lock in when playing it, and it's very striking. And the pickup selector is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I hadn't seen before. The 10-way switch.
Oh yeah, 10-way. Yeah, so this neck segues into a neck joint that's actually quite strong, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's a big stainless steel plate there that bolts on. All the fasteners are stainless because it stands up to corrosion and sweat better. But it's recessed so it doesn't rub up against you. And basically, let's call it a Strat-ish shape, but it's offset. You'll notice it's like a dancing Strat, and that allows it to sit at an angle, which is comfortable if it's your rib cage. They got the cutaways and these contours, and
one thing that I found with Rick is that he obsesses over the tiniest details, and but one of them that I forget the details on is the bridge. You know, and I know it's a passion of yours. So can you tell us a little bit about the bridge? And did you have a patent on this, or is
yes,
this
this is a patented bridge, and basically the concept is similar to a violin. I was thinking about violins, and a violin has very direct string transfer down to the soundboard. And this is basically a violin bridge that is adjustable up and down at the end of an arm that moves back and forth. And this is directly coupled with the top. So the vibration from the string goes down here, catches that, it goes directly down into the top. There's nothing like it on the market because it's patented. And you can hear the difference in the string-to-string separation. It's quite stunning.
So I know, Mike, you were playing this a bit, and I know you were excited about it. Can you share a bit about what was it that you felt in Rick's work?
Consistency first of all, because there were a few guitars I was able to play, and you've got a bunch. The one you were playing last night was quite a stunner as well with the.
Rick's other guitar.
Absolutely, and just the devil's in the detail with this stuff, and I play a lot of luthier-built guitars. I'm playing a luthier-built guitar right now by my friend Andreas Kunz over in Germany. This is my sort of signature acoustic guitar, and the details really do matter, and you really can tell instantly. I mean, just visually, without even playing, the difference between a kind of factory-produced kind of thing and a luthier-built guitar in the details. But not all luthier-built guitars are cut from the same cloth, and this consistency and quality. This is very striking as well, the carbon fiber situation. But this pickup selector is something I hadn't seen before. So it's a standard kind of 5-way blade, but when you push it down, it accesses a whole different splits, I presume. So you have single coil and humbucker. Is that how it works?
Essentially,
Yep.
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the bridge there, and then on the neck the opposite, and then the bass side's kind of humbucker bass tones, and then the treble side's kind of single coil bass tones. But
I also love the neck as well. I mean, I have a guitar at home with a very similar neck, but without the sort of ergonomic back. And this is much easier for me to play than that one actually. And I think part of it, I mean, we're in Florida as well, so it's very humid. I mean, I'm sweating like a horse at the beach, and this is still very, very easy to play. And I do, when I say I sweat a lot, and the guitar tech Chris on the tours I do with Justin Hayward will attest to that. He's always complaining about rubbing my sweat off things, and it does make a difference. And this is very, very easy to play down here by the swamps.
Yeah. Well, and I think another idea that was behind that guitar was the ability to travel, like the ability to have every sound that a traveling guitar player would need, electric guitar player, in one instrument.
Just plugging it in this morning. I mean, last night I fooled around with it a bit, but plugging it in this morning and really hearing how accurate this thing is and how you can dial in the sounds of your favorite classic guitars with this 10-way selector is really, really very impressive.
Should mention Steve's pickups. Steve Blucher from DiMarzio.
Hey.
And actually,
yeah,
developed that as well.
Yeah, I developed this with DiMarzio as well. They're amazing guys. We developed this. It's called the Black Angel. It's a passive magnetic pickup for acoustic guitars, but it's got a phase switch built in. And I actually used this last night. So I have a lot of different pickups in this guitar, 4 different pickups actually. But the main source is the DiMarzio Piezo and the DiMarzio Magnetic. But because we have a phase switch built on, you can always get the maximum stuff out of it. And last night we were actually having some feedback problems just in this corner here. There was a little bit too much bass response, and it was a little bit too much just to even dial out and have the guitar still sound decent. So just by flicking the phase switch, I was able to calm it down. Usually I put it in the setting where it'll maximize everything, but it's also, as proven last night, it also saves the gig sometimes.
Yeah.
So this is, as far as I'm aware, the only magnetic pickup on the market that has a phase switch built in. And I made this in collaboration with Larry DiMarzio and with Nick Benjamin, luthier from the UK, who has made some of my acoustics in the past as well.
I know we're kind of all over the place here, but and now that you mention this, for people that want to play a sort of a style where you have some percussive techniques, can you get away? I know you have 4 pickups in this guitar, but can you actually get away with just the 2 DiMarzios, for example?
Yes. So.
And what benefits do you get out of each of these, if you don't mind?
So, of course. So, first of all, anything that a modern fingerstyle player or someone that's using some of these extended techniques, anything that they do, you can do on an off-the-shelf guitar. Fine, right?
It's just about miking them, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. So, but when you're plugged in, you really need. You can't have just a magnetic because you need to capture the body, and the magnetic will not capture the body. You need a piezo for that, or a bridge plate pickup. That's what this is. It's not under the saddle, the Black Angel piezo. It's attached to the bridge plate underneath, which gives you a much cleaner sound without that horrible quack that you get from most off-the-shelf piezos anyway.
But under the saddle will still work for the top.
Yes, it'll still work, absolutely. But it has this nasty high frequency stuff that I'm not a big fan of. So I much prefer the style of piezo that stick in under there. So the main reason I love having a magnetic as well is that because it's isolating the strings, it adds a lot of warmth to the sound overall, but it also gives you the option of adding effects like distortion or octave and things that you wouldn't want to put on a pickup that's attached to the surface like this. I mean, that's almost akin to like putting distortion or overdrive on a microphone, a live mic.
Right.
You get into all kinds of feedback problems, And when I use an octave pedal, it's just applying it to the strings. So if I'm doing some kick drum stuff, it's not going to confuse the unit, you know. So the way I think about it is the magnetic is my electric guitar, the piezo is my acoustic guitar, and parts of the drum kit as well. But additionally, I have a little microphone inside that I have at just the tiniest level, just for a little bit of detail that sometimes.
You're a long way from the piezo.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's such a long way. If I'm doing delicate stuff, you just need a hair of mic. Not always, but just, it's my preference right now. But I have it literally at the tiniest amount of volume. It's like 5% of the sound. And the other pickup I have is right here. It's a little transducer that I use to amplify the kick drum, which is the heel of my hand hitting the wood here. Now the only reason that I have that on this, I only actually have that pickup on this specific guitar, because this specific guitar has a very thick top, because it was designed to be a rugged, roadworthy, you know, instrument. German engineering.
You've
and all
had
that.
it a few years, and
I've
it
had it
seems
a
like
few
it's
years,
pretty.
and
I don't see any like.
Exactly, and I've hammered it all over the world. I don't hit very, very hard, but it's survived the baggage throwers, you know, all of that stuff. Because that's hard, I need the pickup in there, just to give that extra oomph to the bass. Now, normally on my other acoustic guitars with a softer top, the top flexes, you get a lot of that thump out of the piezo. The piezo will pick that up. So if you're going to get 2 pickups for a guitar, an acoustic guitar, if you're interested in this style, I would prioritize the piezo and the magnetic. Right?
And the Mike Dawes DiMarzio Angel is not a bad way to go. Yeah.
Available now.
One thing that people might not know is.
By the way, I don't get a cut from this at all.
You don't?
By the way. No,
Okay.
they're my friends. I helped develop this with them, but I'm not financially invested in this. I just use it because it's the best for what I'm doing. So.
One thing that people might not know is you actually, I can see from here that the B string, for example, is extremely, the pole piece is really wound down below. And maybe you can explain why that is.
So maybe you can see that right there. So the reason that I've taken these down, and actually this comes pretty much with these settings, but I've actually recessed the pole pieces all equally a little bit lower. The reason for that, number one, is these strings are nickel, and it gets a stronger output from the magnetic pickup than bronze, essentially. It's just basic science, physics. But
not,
also,
not louder, stronger output for the magnetic, but the strings are actually quieter.
Yes, electronically, it's a magnetic pickup. It will create a higher output.
And that's a unique thing because, I mean, most acoustics are using bronzes or...
So the strings I use are nickel bronze strings, which is an interesting new string brought out by Dario. And I have these gauges for dad pad, which I'm in right now because that's a sort of happy medium between tunings that I use live. But the other reason this is down is the B string in particular, just the thickness of this, which is sort of 17 gauge string. It's always very hot on magnetic pickups, always. I've never played through a off-the-shelf magnetic pickup and not had to dial this one down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, just specifically the wound strings are quieter than the plain strings.
Yeah. But this string in particular always pops out, the B string.
Yeah.
So I always have that, the lowest, the top E, a little bit higher maybe, and then the rest of them are generally kind of slightly down at an angle. But still, I've got them pretty low. Yeah. Another reason for that is when I'm doing the click, which is when I'm doing this kind of percussion, I don't want too much of a snap. Yeah.
And if it's below sea level, there, probably,
it's just that this is just above, and then they kind of dip down. D string's a little bit higher because it's not in any danger of really getting hit. Yeah. Everything has a reason.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just super geeky.
If everything has a reason, I'm curious about this little piece of Velcro.
Everything did have a reason. I just did a tour once where I needed quick access to a guitar pick, so I had a little pick holder stuck there.
Nice.
So I would just, but I kept the Velcro on there. And this has been in so many of my videos, and I get so many comments like, "What's that Velcro for? Is it for the tone?" So for the benefit of those people, yes, it's for the tone.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Everyone needs a tiny
it's a
square.
much better story. Yeah.
A tiny square of Velcro. Yeah.
It's like that part of the cavity. It's just certain frequencies.
You can stick all kinds of things on there. Your Greyhound ticket.
Yeah. There's also the Velcro on the inside for those frequencies as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, little known fact. Yeah. So you said a bunch of nice things about Rick's work here. Rick, what did you see in Mike's performance? I know you guys literally just met yesterday, but is there anything anything about Mike that inspired you?
Yes. You mentioned detail. Speaking about my work, I would say the same thing. Tremendous craftsmanship applied to every note. It's quite amazing. You can tell that Mike really listens, and there are not many people, not many musicians that really listen. There are a lot of musicians that play, but a musician that listens is extraordinarily rare, and Mike does that, and you can hear it in his playing.
Awesome.
Thanks, Rick.
Oh, you're welcome.
Very kind of you.
Well, that was super nice of you about Mike. You know, Rick, we were talking to some people last night though, and they were really asking, like, you know, they saw these incredible instruments that you have, the crazy one that I was playing last night, and this one, and they were wondering what is kind of your creative process to come up with these crazy but functional works of art.
I would say overall it's a beginner's mindset.
Okay.
Yeah, I come to each instrument as if I'd never built one before. In fact, when I take some time off from the shop to travel and come back to the shop, there's a day or two of adjustment where I have to remember how I do what I do. Because this is all built by hand. But anyway, I think having the beginner's mindset allows me to look fresh at each one. And that keeps it exciting, and it keeps opening possibilities. So there's never a path. It's more of an awareness, and the awareness is the key.
Something unique that I found in both of you actually was when I went to Rick's shop for the first time in New Jersey. It was about 8 foot by 8 foot, and everything was self-contained in there. And he had one post in the middle of the room, and he walked around. The guitar would be on that post in the room, and it was the most efficient workspace. Everything was in a very small space, and I couldn't believe his woodworking or his fearlessness. I said, Rick, you know, this neck's a little, you know, it's just a little wide for me. And he takes the guitar. How's that? You know, I was oh, well, yeah, we're getting closer. He's like, okay, well, we'll clean that. But I mean, it was it's a man who's comfortable with his tools to take a complete instrument and just.
I had a similar thing with Andreas with this little scratch thing that he put on there, which is something that Nick Benjamin, the other luthier who made some of my acoustics, kind of came up with. But I asked him to make this, and he sort of came down. We were all a little hungover from a show the night before, staying in his workshop, and he comes down, cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And I like ask him really nicely if he could just do this, and he was like, just takes a bit of wood, just kind of eyeballs it. Yeah,
it's just the master of his tools. Yeah. But I think both of you are very, you know, efficient. You know, you want like compact. You know, you didn't want to have any extraneous stuff. You want to whether it's your cup of coffee this morning, or you're just an efficient. You know, you don't want to travel with too much.
A lot of that's just laziness.
Okay.
And the illusion of being efficient is like, oh yeah, I don't need to pack that bag because I'm being efficient. When in actual fact, I just try to live life with as few chains as possible. You know. So, especially spending life with a suitcase and a guitar, and that's about it. You know?
Yeah. Well,
cut down on the baggage.
I think Rick does the same. Well, I want to thank you too, just for taking a couple minutes. We didn't have a plan today. We just wanted to talk a little about.
Thanks.
Thank you.